Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today, a brand new video, because I definitely want to talk about this series. Finished reading volume 2 last night, so I was able to sleep through it, and throughout the day till I'm making this video, I'm able to, process my thoughts and how I feel about it. I personally like this a lot more than I enjoyed it. I really liked it as a volume 2, as a follow-up to what we have. I really enjoyed it. Uh this video will probably be quicker and maybe a little bit shorter than volumes 1 review, because volume 1 I kind of just ranted and talked about maybe unnecessary things, but in this video I just want to talk over it, just the things that I enjoyed. And I just want to say that uh I a lot of the time I think I will only really have a lot of positives to say, because I'm not that experienced to say with a lot of different volumes where I can like point out flaws. But if a book or writing has a flaw, and you could, I mean, if it's a pretty big flaw, you could, I think a novice reader could, like, is able to pick it up right away. So, but I'm not like super like pro professional level reading where I can like detect story writing and stuff. But as of right now, I've really been enjoying it. I only really got positive things to say. uh, there will be spoilers, so be aware of that, because I will be ranting and kind of giving my thoughts, kind of in the review, maybe not so much of a review, of a full-on like review. But volume 2, greatest Magic Masters retirement plan, finished it. And I guess, where do we start off? First half of the book, for around there, for like the first two chapters of volume 2 kind of pick up where volume 1 ends up. So volume 1 ended up with them preparing to start, what were they called, extracurricular classes, where they would have to go, the students from the Magical Institute would have to go out in the real world, to the outer world, to fight the monsters, to get first-hand experience on what they're gonna be fighting once they graduate from the Magical Institute. So that's where it ends up off, and that's where volume 2 picks up, just like the couple days before they had to start and when they had to start. So that picks up. Some problems occur. I think, I mean, obviously, surprisingly, something also just before, I just want to say that I didn't say this in my previous video, but this is not an isekai. This is not an isekai. This is a fucking fantasy story. So there's that, but it seems to have like many of the fantasy cliches, isekai cliches, where there's like students that want to do like bad things and stuff. Because that's what happens here. There's a scene where main character Alus goes into to talk to the principal, and there's a whole bunch of kids in there, third years, that are kind of arguing, and they end up, at towards the end of the interaction, they end up giving off a negative vibe, like they're gonna be behind something reckless later on. Which, spoiler alert, they do end up being part of the problem in the bit, which I will talk about. And that's what happens in there. So that's the interaction that happens. That's gonna be for a little bit forward, but they're talking about that. Alice ends up, since he's the number one Magic Master, strongest in the world, he's been ordered to go out before any of the other students, because no one knows that he's, aside from the current students that he's working with, Alice and Tisfia and Loki, and like the upper, the adults, upper people in order. They're the only ones that know he's the strongest. So he has to go out. His mission: destroy, kill any like super high ranking monsters that would just cause trouble. So the students don't have to be troubled with having to deal with that. So that's what happens. And then, which honestly is not bad. I like reading that. Then that leads to the day of the fights, the classes, the extracurricular lessons. And they, yeah, so the way it's structured is, they have the first years, and then they have the supervisors, which are, third year students, or high ranking students with a higher position. So they go out and they end up causing trouble by the third year, the high ranking students, uh trying to take him out, trying to take the students out of the range where they're supposed to be. And they end up just getting in trouble. They end up finding fiends, monsters that are way above their level. And there's a there's a scene where Tesfia's group ends up coming across that, and it's like it shows a lot more spotlight on Tesfia and her battle with that. So it was really nice. It was pretty cool battle. But like any other typical cliche like fantasy, Alice has to come in because I mean she's just not there yet. She's not at that level. So it's a B class fiend, pretty high up, and they were only like battling E class fiends. So you know, big ass difference. I think it was a B class. So she puts up a fight, but she's pretty much on the brink of death. She's about to get killed, and then Alice comes in, saves her, and fucking shows off his flashy moves. He fucking wrecks the fucking monster, and it's pretty cool though. Like the way they talk about it and shit. I wish they had like art of the fight, but it was pretty cool, and I liked it. So that happens there. He shows off moves, and he takes her back. She's hurt, but she's not in any real danger. It shows off a little more interaction between the two of them, and you know, kind of hinting towards like a bit of romance in there, more like one-sided from Tesfia towards Alice. But that's kind of what happens in the first half. Second half, like middle. So let's say thirds. Yeah, let's kind of say thirds, or yeah. So first third, that was the fight. Second third, middle part of the book, it goes into deeper, much more like series tones. So it will get a little dark because the book ends up going towards Alice's background, where she apparently, so from volume one we never really got any background on her, but this part of the book really went into her background and gave us information about her. So with that in hand, we end up finding out that she came from a poor family. She came from, from not really wealth or anything. So when she was young, she ended up being kind of sent or bought by the government from her parents because they needed money and they needed to pay for her medications and any hospitalizations, doctor visits that were just piling up. So the government kind of, you know, took advantage of her parents, and just ended up buying her pretty much. So that happened, and she ends up getting experimented on. While she's in the laboratories, they're doing all this stuff on her, and I can't remember how. I think she said it. She was there for quite a bit of time, quite a couple years. So it's pretty fucking sad. She ends up learning that her parents died. They apparently, from what it seems, they got stabbed. They got killed. I don't think the government had to do anything with it, but it was just an unlucky standing. So she's been in this kind of lonely spot, really dark spot. So it's just it's heartbreaking because all she knew in there was just loneliness and getting experimented on and just torture and stuff pretty much. So as a young child, she grew up with that. So we also learned that she made a friend in there, but she didn't know what happened to her because one day she just disappeared. So new character introduced, Melissa, and she's probably gonna come in volume 3 from my chance, because the last half of the book ends up kind of connecting with Alice's background. But that was kind of the middle part of the book, just kind of talking about her background and stuff, her growing up and just the troubles that she went through. So that was the middle half, and then we get into the third half. The third half starts off with Falinella. So if you recall from volume 1, from the first video, I fucking love this girl. The way they described her early on, she is my number one girl. She is my girl that I will be rooting for. So we start off with her. She gets some screen time pretty much, and she's out in the battle fighting. She's kind of doing this cover op mission where she has to recover data, go look for data in the outworld. Because if you remember, she is a high ranking student as well. She's, I think, somewhere around like rank 100 or 400, somewhere around there. So she's out there doing missions, and we get a little bit of fighting with her and like a couple bodyguards that are guarding this research area, old abandoned research area. So it's pretty cool, and it's just it's fucking sick. So we learned she has wind attribute, and she's pretty fucking good with it. She's pretty cool with it, and a little bit of something happens towards the end where she ends up kind of meeting this mysterious person that comes to pick up the people that she fought with. So that probably definitely gonna maybe lead on to something else, but that kind of ends up just there. And then that was like the start of the towards the end of the book, and then towards like the end, and now they really just talk about Alice gets a mission where he has to go look for a person. He has to look for who ends up being this researcher that is working on a research project that is inhumane, pretty much. And it ends up being that it's the same guy that experimented on Alice when she was growing up. So that connection is made, but between them, they aren't. They Alice is not told that. So because I feel like it talks about in there, they don't want to open any wounds, unopened wounds, and they're just, he Alice as a character is learning to be more, more humane, more empathetic towards the people around him. So it's a small progress on his character development, but he's charged with that mission, so he has to do that. Towards the end of the book, it kind of ends up being just preparing for that and setting up that plot, which is probably gonna be the first half of volume 3, from my guess. But that's kind of just what we get around the volume there, which is honestly I liked it. I think we had a bit more fight. We definitely had a bit more fights here, and I think the world building itself from volume 2, we learned that in a way they live in a simulation. Although it is like a fantasy world, they live like in a simulation where people live in the nation, the city, which is surrounded like in a bubble by like by a protection. So inside, people live happy. It seems that weather never really changes. It's always kind of clear and everything. So they kind of live in the simulation there. But like that's only because people are protecting by battling the fiends outside of the world. So Al, he that oh no, nah, forget that. Nothing about him. The world building itself. So they live in a simulation pretty much, and outside of the world, that's where it's the real world, the old world, the nature where nature really is. So they kind of gives that. There's a couple cities that are mentioned, towns around there are mentioned, and it's pretty cool. It seems that the outer world is full with forestry and just old abandoned research facilities, and not much else is brought up when it comes to like politics or anything like that, which it might not have any throughout the series. But that's kind of what we get. I really like this one. We seem to get more character development from Tesfia, as she is becoming a bit stronger, but she's also becoming not so much of an airhead. She's becoming a bit more reserved and is able to understand a few things. Although, as that's her nature is being bashful and hot-headed, loudmouth, that will always be there. But it seems like a lot of times she's a bit more kind of more understanding of the situation. So there's that. Like I mentioned, Alus is becoming more humane. He's able to be more empathetic towards the people around him, as that's something. Even though he doesn't like that, but he is learning from that. Alice, I like to say, we kind of get more development as we learn her backstory and how she wants to also become strong. She doesn't want she doesn't want to fall behind, and she doesn't want to be weak. She always wants to be strong, and even though she struggles with it, she's not giving up. So a lot of the time it's just her learning that she can't do this, but she's like, I can't give up. I need to get stronger, and she's working on that. Loki, I feel like Loki's just becoming more of an open person as well with the people around her, the people in Alice's group. She's becoming more of understanding of them, even though she doesn't really like the girls. She's kind of starting to open up more to Tesfia, not to Tesfia, to Alice. So that's good. That's good. We didn't get much of any other character aside from the mention of Melissa, which is Tisfia's friend, which might come into more into depth on volume 3. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I had to say. It was a pretty decent volume. I liked it. I enjoyed it. So there's nothing much else to say about that. I know I said this was gonna be a short one, but I don't know how short it can be. But I really liked it about this volume 3. I should hopefully be starting it soon, and volume 1 will be out now. My review on volume 1 will be out now, and then probably I'll put this out towards the end, and volume 3 probably in a couple weeks. Depends how fast I read and how I work on it. Sometimes I get lazy, but I've really been enjoying this series, so I will definitely start working on that a lot more. I got a couple other videos that I have done, really small videos that I will probably upload throughout the time. So be on the lookout for that. So if you're also if you've read the series or have any thoughts about it, do let me know. Comment down below. Give a like. Give us subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Make sure you check out my other socials. I also stream on Twitch here and there. So make sure you check that out. I'd appreciate it. But aside from that, thank you for watching if you made it to the end, and hope you guys have a great time, and leave me any comments on what you guys want to hear, or if you have any thoughts about this too. I'd recommend this series if you enjoy fantasy, powerful, overpowered MCs. I'd recommend. So without further ado, have a good day, have a good night, and keep on rocking, bro. Peace out.